Today I'm going to go through a process that I use with my reflective journaling clients that is called Unleashing the Autodidact Inside. And this is all about teaching yourself, self-didact, teach. I think didact is teach. I'll have to look that up. So I'm going to go through this process. It's just like a reflective journaling class, except instead of writing down my thoughts, I'm going to go through them aloud. So you kind of get to experience what it's like for someone else to reflect and to think and to process. Although the prompts are scripted, my responses aren't. So you'll get a first-hand glimpse and perhaps get some insights of your own as you listen. So here is the first prompt. How do you best learn? Well, I learn by getting a quick hit of inspiration, like a quick YouTube video, like a 4-minute YouTube video, or reading a paperback book, or reading like a quick bullet list journal on, not journal, but post online, or sometimes even just a meme will do, and then applying. So I get some inspiration and then I try it out. I kind of launch and I tweak things and I experiment and I see what falls out, and then I iterate. And it's all about getting this initial insight and then playing with. So the thing that most consistently inspires me to learn is reading paperback books or ebooks, but books written for lay people, not extremely technical books. And then that process of just trying it out and seeing what happens and how well it works for me, and can I change it so it better suits me. Yeah, that's how I best learn. The next question is, what kinds of resources would be most fun and useful for you? Oh gosh, I love resources like YouTube series where somebody charming and with polished video editing just concisely and humorously delivers solid information. And really, same thing goes for the nonfiction how-to books that I read. I like it delivered quickly, I like it to be funny, and I like for the information to be well researched. So, oh gosh, I also love learning about academic subjects through comics. So any kind of how-to like illustrated guide is really accessible for me, and I'm charmed by it, and I'm not intimidated by it, and I'm encouraged to just go. So these kind of approachable, personable resources are great for me, and I really benefit from thinking, you know what, the information here is something I can trust and will give a solid foundation to my application and my experimentation. And I kind of contrast this with the somber books or video series which are very self-important and are very prescriptive and advocate for following extremely precise and rigorous and intimidating steps. That falls flat for me, and I'm guessing that works really well for other people, and I truly respect that, because that is a level of mental discipline that hasn't proven to be my strength. So moving on, the next question is, how can you make learning engrossing and entertaining for yourself? Ooh. So for me, this is all about getting into a state of flow by trying the information out. Like, if I learn a new way, for example, to crochet a granny square, I just want to get in there. I want to pull out my scissors and my yarn and my crochet hook and try this new thing that is right at the edges of what I'm able to do. And doing that, like, hours will go by as I get better and better at it. I just get totally zoomed in on the process. And the same thing goes with learning a new writing technique, or learning a new composing technique, or learning a new coaching technique, or learning a new way to make the bed or approach decluttering, or learning a new parenting technique that I'm excited to see how will work for me and my son. Learning a new conversational technique, and then trying it in actual conversation and seeing, is this weird? Is this inauthentic? Does this help the conversation become more real and more interesting? Like, what happens? That sort of thing makes it really engrossing. And because I'm so interested, and because I'm experimenting and trying and doing the thing, therefore it's very entertaining for me. The next question is, what type of learning environment can you create for yourself, one that really suits you? Oh man, I guess having supplies around, like pencils and tape and paper and a computer and access to a printer that has plenty of ink and plenty of printer paper, and having my phone plugged in, so I can call people or look something up real quick on a different screen, or and having access as well to music without words, a rain noise so I can focus in, having timers around so I can say, I'm going to time myself and I'm going to see how long it takes me to do X, or I'm going to see if I can do X in this number of minutes. And unless I'm working on something interactive like a coaching practice or a parenting technique or a conversation technique, I like to be alone, and I like to have no distractions. So I guess that was supplies, all the tech available and ready to go, and solitude and music, or like rain sounds, or that cafe background noise that's available somewhere on the internet, like that kind of stuff. The next question is, how can you give yourself time and space to think freely? Ooh, I know this one, because every morning I get up and I do what I call my hour-long think. And lately I've been doing it while it's still dark outside. I brew some coffee. I make sure I have a pencil and some paper nearby in case I have like a cogent thought or a resonant thought. And I just let my mind drift, and when little things bubble to the surface and I go, oh, you know what, that was an important thought, I'll write it down. And sometimes that'll lead me down a path where if I think something about my work day, I will continue in that vein and I'll really shape up my work day. But if it doesn't lead me down a path, that's fine. And I might come up with a series of disconnected but nonetheless interesting and worthwhile thoughts that I can follow up on later. And often this time turns into my to-do list for the day. But it's, I feel, for me, a to-do list that is more meaningful than like a societally imposed to-do list, like, oh, I ought to exercise and I ought to clean my house and I ought to do strength training or whatever. It's more like, you know what, it's really important to update this, or it's really urgent that I return this email, or it would be really good for me to spend time napping today, or I should really focus my attention on this thing that I want to return to, that I've maybe stepped away from and gotten distracted from. The thing I forgot about my learning environment, I'm backing up now to what type of learning environment can you create for yourself? I forgot that I love to be able to experience nature, like a window that looks out on green space, an open window so I can listen to the birds. Sometimes if I haven't gone full digital, I like to just take a notebook outside and sit in a pleasant place where it's not too hot or too cold, and just listen to the wind chimes and watch people walk by and feel the breeze and listen to all the nature sounds, the rustle of the leaves, because I find that very soothing, and I might even say healing. And, to feel the warmth of the sun on my skin, that's an important part of my learning environment too, because I feel like I learn better when I'm calm and I feel like life is beautiful. All right, the next question is, how can you weave learning into a realistic and comfortable time and place in your schedule? Well, okay. Two considerations. One is that my learning often translates directly into work activities. So if I learn something about music, I am almost certain to bring it up that day with my music students. Or if I learn a new conversational or coaching or parenting technique, that's likely going to make it somewhere into my reflective journaling resources as a question that people can consider without being pushed into believing. And so I need to understand that often my learning is automatically woven into my work. And another thing is that I need to try to make space for the learning and make sure that my schedule is clear of extraneous commitments and appointments, because for me, learning is one of my top priorities and most absorbing activities, one that helps me flourish in my family and my work and my hobby time and my friendship time. So keeping that space open, incorporating it into my work, and then obviously, like with any habit formation, choosing short little blocks of time when I'm building that habit and anchoring it into my day. Like, for example, after I drop my son off at school, I can come back home and pour myself a cup of coffee and dive into a subject. Another thing that I do is I love to listen to a nonfiction audiobook, and I put up a Google Doc that's like notes from this book, and then I start playing Minecraft, and I listen to the book and I play Minecraft, and when I hear something that I want to write down and remember, I pause the game and I go to the doc and I write down the note. And I pause the book too, because I can't think and write and listen to a book effectively all at the same time. And then I turn the book back on, I turn Minecraft back on, and I keep playing Minecraft until the book says something awesome again, and then the pausing and the writing and the resuming repeats. So learning via habit formation, learning by creating space, making it a priority, and kind of weaving it into this playful Minecraft time, which I do automatically, and I love. And the second to last question is, what are your expectations for your performance? And I think I touched on this when I said I expect to immediately apply it. And I expect that my interest will wane eventually. So, and I need to be comfortable with the fact that some of the things I try will become ongoing parts of my thought processes and work processes or other processes, but some are just going to fade away because even though they're good information and they're good techniques, they didn't capture me enough to stay part of my long-term fabric. And with my kind of latent perfectionist tendencies, that's hard for me because every time I run into something good, I feel like I have this obligation to stick to it forever and do the thing, like the Hermione complex, right? Like, gotta be good, gotta be the best at scholarship. But now my expectation is some stuff will stick and become part of my toolkit, and other stuff will be interesting to think about and apply, and then fade away into the ether of time, and it's okay. And my expectation is that this process of learning is going to be fascinating and will lead to flow states, and will be an incredibly beneficial part of my life, no matter the outcome of the learning. And the final question is, how can you stretch and utilize your learning? Okay, so I think we've covered utilizing, but how can I stretch it? Well, I think I've grown really comfortable with my method of getting new knowledge. It's like reading or listening to books or watching YouTube videos or reading little articles. And so what's really missing from that, I think, is classes, like maybe taking a class at a community center or private lessons, a place where I'll get personal instruction and maybe be in a community of other people who are doing the same thing, and getting this sort of different experience of lecture and community making time, and by making I mean doing the thing, like whatever the topic is, like cross stitch, community cross stitching time, and also building a group of people who are also interested in this thing, and using that to make friends and to stay like I'm continuously touching in with this thing. That's something that's missing that I could stretch into. I don't want to. I'm so protective of my time. But if something comes up and I'm like public speaking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get really good at public speaking, and I want to have people give me feedback, and I want to learn new techniques, and I want to do it live, and I want to do it in front of people, then I might join Toastmasters or something like that. So that's a way in which I could stretch. Same thing with physical activities, like going to classes or playing a sport with a group, like, oh my gosh, ultimate frisbee or martial arts. That is a thing that really wouldn't work from a book or a YouTube video. Although, I'm just going to give a quick plug for someone I'm not affiliated with. He has no idea I exist. But the guy who runs the Original Strength YouTube channel, his name is Tim Anderson, is my movement guy. Everything he does makes me feel better. He's corrected so many of my aches and pains, and I've gotten stronger, and I've gotten more mobile. So I highly recommend him. His movement style is my jam. Okay, that was a bit of a tangent. I have now finished the structure. So let me just say thank you for listening. I appreciate your ears and your time. And if you want to know more about reflective journaling, if you're curious, you can go to reflectivejournaling.net and look around at our events and our resources. And if you want to get to know the community, that is kind of growing around reflective journaling, you can look us up on Facebook. We're the Reflective Journaling Community. I mean, leave off it's just Reflective Journaling Community. And this podcast is a pay what you want resource, and you can PayPal me, and the link for that is on reflectivejournaling.net. I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now. All right, signing off for now. See you later.